Ma'am, this is for advanced competitors only.
I know. I'm registered.
The rifle scope centered on Derek Strand's forehead as he lunged forward, his hands reaching for her throat. Margaret Cross didn't flinch. 54 years old. Silver hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, reading glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. She looked like someone's grandmother. She was. But the muscle memory that kicked in had been earned through 19 years as a Navy SEAL sniper, through 214 confirmed kills across 6 continents, through missions so classified, even her daughter didn't know they existed. Derek's fingers were 6 inches from her neck when everything changed. "Get out, old lady," he'd screamed 3 seconds ago. Now he was about to learn what old really meant. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. And comment below with your city so I can see how far this story has traveled around the world. Trust me, you won't want to miss where this goes. 72 hours earlier, Maya had driven through the gates of Joint Task Force Bravo with her windows down and country music playing low on the radio. The California heat was already brutal at 0800 hours, the kind of dry, suffocating warmth that made your throat close up and your skin feel tight. She'd been in worse. Fallujah in August, Helmand Province in July, the Hindu Kush in every season that tried to kill you. The base sprawled across 200 acres of desert scrubland, a collection of white buildings and training facilities that looked like someone had dropped a small military city in the middle of nowhere and forgotten about it. Which essentially, they had. Joint Task Force Bravo was where the military sent its best and brightest Ranger SEALs, Marine Raiders, Special Forces, to train together, to learn from each other, to become even more lethal than they already were. It was also where they sent Maya Cross to die professionally. Not literally, though given what was about to happen, that might have been easier. The guard at the main gate checked her ID 3 times. Young kid, maybe 22, with the kind of fresh-faced earnestness that made Maya's chest ache. He reminded her of Collins, the FNG who'd taken shrapnel in Kandahar trying to save her when she didn't need saving. Collins was 22 when he died. She'd been 21 when she held him while he bled out, promising him it didn't hurt, that he was going home, that his mother would be proud. Lies. All lies. But kind ones. "Master Chief Cross," the guard said, handing back her credentials. "Welcome to Bravo. You're expected at the admin building. They'll get you sorted." "Thank you, Specialist." She drove past the gate, following the signs that pointed toward the main complex. Her truck, a beat-up Ford Ranger she'd bought for $800, and a case of beer rattled over speed bumps and past training yards where soldiers ran formation drills in the punishing heat. She watched them in her peripheral vision, cataloging details without looking directly. Old habit. Never let them see you watching. Never let them know you're gathering intelligence. The admin building was exactly what she expected: government-issue concrete solar panels on the roof, American flag hanging limp in the still air. She parked, grabbed her duffel, 42 pounds she'd weighed it that morning, and headed inside. The duty sergeant was halfway through his coffee when she walked in. He looked up, saw her rank, and his expression did something complicated. Surprise, maybe. Confusion. A little bit of that particular discomfort men get when they encounter women in spaces they consider exclusively theirs. "Master Chief Cross." "That's me." "Colonel Rains is expecting you." "Third floor, last door on the right." He paused. "Ma'am, if you don't mind me asking, you look really young to be a Master Chief." Maya smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Started early, worked hard, got lucky. 2 truths and a lie. Let him figure out which was which. She took the stairs. Always take the stairs. Know your exits. Know your routes. Never trap yourself in an elevator if you can help it. Her father had taught her that when she was 6 years old, playing hide-and-seek in their base housing in Virginia. Master Chief Robert Cross, the man who'd trained half the SEALs, currently serving the man who died in a sandy nothing town in Syria, doing a job nobody would ever thank him for. The man she was here to honor, whether anyone knew it or not. Colonel James Rains's office was at the end of a hallway lined with photographs of warriors who'd passed through this base. Young faces, old faces. Some dead now, some retired. Some still out there, still bleeding for a country that barely remembered to say thank you. Maya didn't look at the photos. She'd been in enough of them, her face carefully blurred or turned away, the ghost in the background of other people's glory. Rains looked up when she knocked. "Master Chief Cross, come in. Close the door." She did. Stood at attention. Waited. Rains was 52 Silver Star recipient, 3 deployments to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan, the kind of officer who'd earned his rank the hard way. He had a face like old leather, and eyes that had seen too much, and somehow still gave a damn. Those eyes were studying her now, measuring, calculating. "At ease. Sit." She sat, spine straight, hands folded, the picture of military bearing. "Your file," Rains said slowly, "is the most classified piece of paperwork I've seen in 28 years of service. I had to get Pentagon clearance just to read your cover story." Maya said nothing. "According to this, you're a technical advisor. Communication systems integration, testing new encrypted radio protocols." He leaned back in his chair. It creaked. "That's horse shit." "Sir, that's my assignment." "Master Chief, I was running ops with DevGru before you were born. I know a red cell operator when I see one." He paused. "The question is, what's the real mission?" Maya made a decision. This man had earned the truth, or at least part of it. "Penetration testing, sir. Cultural assessment. I'm here to find vulnerabilities in training protocols and unit cohesion. 18 months, then I'm done." "Vulnerabilities." Rains's expression darkened. "You mean the sexual assault scandals? The toxic leadership investigations? The 3 separate Inspector General complaints from female personnel in the last 6 months?" "I mean whatever I find, sir. And if what you find ends careers, then those careers deserve to end." The silence that followed was heavy with understanding. Finally, Rains pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. "Your quarters, your credentials. Your cover stays intact. As far as anyone here knows, you're exactly what your file says, a Master Chief doing technical work. You don't engage in training exercises. You don't participate in operations. You observe, you document, you report through encrypted channels directly to SOCOM." "Yes, sir." "Master Chief." Rains's voice dropped. "The men here, they're good operators, most of them. But some of them believe women don't belong in combat roles. Some of them believe you're here because of politics, not merit. Some of them are going to test you." "I understand, sir." "Do you—" Rains leaned forward. "Because the last female operator we had here lasted 3 weeks before she requested transfer, and she was Rangers. Tough as coffin nails. They broke her." Maya met his eyes. "Sir, respectfully, I'm not her." Something flickered in Rains's expression. Recognition, maybe, or concern. "No," he said quietly. "I suppose you're not." "Dismissed, Master Chief." She stood saluted, turned to leave. "Cross?" She looked back. "Your father was one of the best men I ever served with. He'd be proud of what you're doing here, even if nobody else ever knows about it." Maya's throat tightened. "Thank you, sir." She left before he could see her eyes getting wet. Her quarters were in the junior officer barracks, a small room with a bed, a desk, a wall locker, and a window that looked out over the training fields. She unpacked methodically, placing everything exactly where it needed to be. Uniforms arranged by type. Boots polished and lined up. Personal items, minimal, a photo of her father in his dress blues, a photo of her mother before the cancer, a challenge coin from her first deployment. And hidden in the bottom of her duffel, wrapped in a t-shirt, her father's combat knife. The one he'd carried for 23 years. The one that had saved his life twice, and failed to save it a 3rd time. She was sitting on her bed, holding the knife, when someone knocked. "Yeah." The door opened. A staff sergeant stood there, maybe 30 years old. Ranger tab on his shoulder, expression carefully neutral. "Master Chief, I'm Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb. Captain Stone sent me to show you around the facility." "I can find my own way, Sergeant, but thank you." Webb didn't move. "Ma'am, Captain Stone was very specific. He wants to make sure you feel welcome." The way he said welcome made it clear that welcome was the last thing she'd be feeling. "Lead the way, Sergeant." They walked through the base in silence. Webb pointed out the chow hall, the gym, the medical facility, the various training areas. His tone was professional but cold, like he was reading from a script he'd been forced to memorize. Other soldiers they passed stared at Maya with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. "Where's your gear, Master Chief?" Webb asked as they passed the armory. "In my quarters." "Your weapon?" "Locked in my vehicle." "You know we do live fire exercises here 3 times a week, right? You'll need to qualify." "I'm not here for training, Sergeant." Webb stopped walking, turned to face her. "Right. You're here for technical advisory work, communication systems." The skepticism in his voice was thick enough to cut. "Ma'am, can I speak freely?" "Go ahead. The men here, we train hard, we bleed together, we deploy together. Most of us have combat experience, real combat, the kind where people die if you screw up." He paused. "I don't know what you did to earn that rank, but out here rank doesn't mean much. Skill does. Reliability does. Being someone your teammates can trust when everything goes to hell." "Can you say that about yourself?" Maya looked at him for a long moment. "Sergeant Webb, I appreciate your concern. I'm not here to prove anything to you or anyone else. I'm here to do my job. If that's a problem, take it up with Colonel Rains." "Maybe I will. Maybe you should." They stared at each other. Webb broke first, turned away. "Training brief is at 1400 hours. All personnel are required to attend. That includes you." "I'll be there." Webb walked away without another word. Maya watched him go, counting the number of times he looked back over his shoulder. 3 times. Checking if she was following. Checking if she was watching. Building his intelligence on her the same way she was building hers on him. Smart kid. Loyal to his captain. Probably a good soldier. And definitely someone who was going to be a problem. The training brief was held in a large classroom with stadium seating and a podium at the front. Maya arrived 5 minutes early and took a seat in the back row away from the clusters of soldiers already gathered and talking in low voices. She pulled out a notebook, pretended to review paperwork and listened to every word being said around her. Heard she's Navy. 23 years old. No way she's a real Master Chief. Probably slept her way up. Diversity hire bullshit. My sister's in the Army. She says they're lowering standards just to hit quotas. Gonna be a disaster. Maya kept her eyes on her notebook. Kept her expression neutral. Kept cataloging every voice, every opinion, every potential threat. Her heart rate stayed steady. 62 beats per minute. The same rhythm it had maintained through ambushes and firefights and the moment they'd handed her the folded flag from her father's casket. The room gradually filled. 47 personnel total, mostly Army and Marine Corps, a handful of Navy, 2 Air Force combat controllers. She was the only woman. At exactly 1400 hours, Captain Derek Stone walked in. He was 35, 6'2", built like someone who'd spent his entire adult life lifting heavy things and running long distances. Marine Raider tab on his shoulder. Combat action ribbon. 2 Purple Hearts. The kind of resume that opened doors and closed conversations. He moved like a predator, all coiled energy and controlled aggression. His eyes found Maya immediately. Locked on. Stayed. "Gentlemen," Stone said, his voice carrying easily through the room. "And lady." He smiled. It wasn't friendly. "Welcome to week 14 of the Joint Task Force integration cycle. For those of you just joining us, let me bring you up to speed." He clicked a remote. A PowerPoint presentation appeared on the screen behind him. Tactical scenarios, training schedules, deployment readiness metrics. Our mission here is simple. Create the most lethal, most cohesive, multi-service special operations capability in the world. We do that through pain, sweat, blood, and absolute refusal to accept anything less than perfection. Stone's eyes kept drifting back to Maya. We don't lower standards. We don't make exceptions. We don't believe in participation trophies. A few chuckles from the audience. This week we're running a combat town scenario. Urban warfare. Close quarters. High stress. Real bullets. Non-lethal rounds. You'll work in 6-man teams. You'll clear buildings. You'll rescue hostages. You'll deal with civilian populations. And you'll do it all while someone with more experience than you will be grading your every move. Stone advanced the slide. Team assignments appeared. Team leaders were selected based on combat experience and proven capability. If you're not on this list, you're going to be a door kicker. Follow orders. Move fast. Don't get shot. He paused. And for those of you wondering, yes, everyone participates, including our technical advisor. Every head in the room turned to look at Maya. She didn't look up from her notebook. Master Chief Cross, Stone said, his voice friendly now, conversational. Dangerous. You'll be with Team 3, Sergeant Cross's team. I'm sure he'll take good care of you. Laughter rippled through the room. Sergeant Tyler Cross, sitting in the front row, turned around and grinned at Maya. He was 28, explosive ordnance disposal qualified, and had the kind of face that suggested he enjoyed hurting people. Looking forward to it, Captain, Cross called out. I'm sure you are. Stone's smile widened. Now, before we wrap up, I want to make something clear. This training isn't optional. It isn't negotiable. If you can't keep up, you request transfer. If you can't perform, you request transfer. If you become a liability to your team, you request transfer. We don't carry dead weight here. Everyone clear? A chorus of yes, sir, echoed through the room. Master Chief Cross, are we clear? Every eye in the room was on her now. Maya looked up slowly, met Stone's gaze across the distance and said, Crystal clear, sir. Outstanding. Dismissed. The room emptied quickly. Soldiers clustering in groups talking strategy and tactics and who was going to screw up first. Maya gathered her notebook and headed for the door. Master Chief. She turned. Stone was standing at the podium alone now, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Sir, a word in my office. It wasn't a request. Of course, sir. His office was smaller than Raines's, more utilitarian. Maps on the walls, equipment lists, training schedules. A photo on the desk showed Stone in combat gear surrounded by Marines, all of them grinning like they'd just won the lottery. The photo was dated 2019, Afghanistan, before the withdrawal, before everything went to hell. Stone closed the door behind them, didn't offer her a seat. Let me be direct, Master Chief. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, and I don't care. What I care about is my teams, my operators. Men who've earned their place here through sweat and blood and years of service. I understand, sir. Do you? Stone leaned against his desk. Because from where I'm sitting, you're a 23-year-old with a rank that took most people 15 years to achieve. You're Navy, but you have no SEAL qualifier. You're claiming to be a technical advisor, but you have zero communications background in your official record. And now you're in my training rotation, which means I'm responsible for your safety and your performance. Maya said nothing. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to go through the motions. You're going to try your best. And when you inevitably can't keep up, you're going to request transfer somewhere more appropriate for your skill level. Maybe a nice desk job at the Pentagon. Maybe a recruitment station. Somewhere you can do good work without getting in the way of operators who actually belong here. Captain Stone, with respect, I'm not done, Master Chief. His voice dropped, got quieter, more dangerous. I've seen this before. Political appointees, diversity hires, people who got their rank because of what they are not what they can do. And every single time it ends the same way. Someone gets hurt, someone dies. Because we lowered our standards to make politicians feel good about themselves. Sir, I didn't ask for this assignment. Then request transfer. No, sir. Stone's jaw tightened. Why not? Because I have my orders, and I follow orders. Even if those orders put my men at risk, my being here puts nobody at risk. We'll see about that, won't we? Stone straightened. Dismissed, Master Chief. Team brief is at 0600 tomorrow. Don't be late. Maya saluted, turned to leave. Cross. She looked back. You're going to quit. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but you're going to quit. They always do. Maya held his gaze. I'm not them, sir. No, Stone said softly. You're just another woman, trying to play soldier in a world you don't belong in. Give it time. You'll figure it out. She left before she said something that would end her career. The rest of the day passed in a blur of administrative tasks and hostile stares. Maya checked in with the armory, qualified on the M4 rifle they'd assigned her, 40 rounds, 40 hits at various distances. The range master's expression shifting from skepticism to surprise, to grudging respect. She checked in with the medical facility, updated her immunization records, signed forms that confirmed she understood the risks of live fire training. And everywhere she went, she felt eyes on her, watching, judging, waiting for her to fail. Dinner was in the chow hall, a large cafeteria-style space filled with tables and soldiers. Maya grabbed a tray, loaded it with chicken and rice and vegetables, found an empty table in the corner. She'd been eating for maybe 3 minutes when Webb sat down across from her. "Master Chief?" "Sergeant. Captain wants to make sure you have everything you need for tomorrow." Maya looked up. That's thoughtful of him. He's a good officer, takes care of his people. I'm sure he does. Webb leaned forward. "Look, I'm going to level with you. The guys here, they're not bad men. They're just protective of this place, of what it represents. You have to understand, most of us have deployed 4, 5, 6 times. We've lost friends, brothers. We've seen what happens when someone on your team isn't ready, isn't capable. And you think I'm not capable. I don't know what you are, Master Chief. That's the problem. None of us do. You show up with classified orders and a rank that doesn't match your age, and we're just supposed to accept that you belong here." He shook his head. "Prove yourself. Show us you can hang. Then maybe we'll give you a chance. I don't need your permission to be here, Sergeant. No, but you need our respect, and respect is earned." He stood up, walked away. Maya watched him go, then looked down at her tray. She wasn't hungry anymore. That night, alone in her quarters, Maya pulled out her father's knife and ran her thumb along the blade. It was sharp enough to shave with, sharp enough to kill with. Her father had taught her how to use it when she was 15 in their backyard in Virginia, under a sky full of stars. "Combat isn't about being the strongest," he'd said. "It's about being smarter, faster, more willing to do what needs to be done. You understand me, Maya?" "Yes, sir." "No, you don't. Not yet, but you will. Because I'm going to teach you something that most operators never learn how to be underestimated. How to let people think you're weak until the moment you need them to know you're not." She understood now. The next morning at 0600 hours, Maya reported to the team briefing room. Team 3 was already there. 6 operators, all male, all watching her with expressions ranging from amusement to contempt. Sergeant Cross stood at the front arms, Cross smiling like a shark. "Well, well, well, the Master Chief graces us with her presence. Everybody say hi to our newest teammate." Nobody said anything. "Master Chief Cross, meet your team. Corporal Vance, he's our breacher. Specialist Morrison comms. Lance Corporal Davidson marksman. Private First Class Lou medic. And Corporal Jackson, our jack of all trades. Gentlemen, this is Master Chief Cross. She's here to observe, learn, and try not to get in our way." More laughter. Maya found a seat, pulled out her notebook, waited. Cross ran through the training scenario. They'd be clearing a 3-story building, hostile combatants on each floor, civilian hostages in unknown locations. Non-lethal rounds, but that didn't mean they wouldn't hurt. Body armor required, helmets required, communication protocols strictly enforced. Questions. Cross looked directly at Maya. "Master Chief, you understand the scenario?" "Yes, Sergeant." "You ever done room clearing before?" "Yes." "Where, what unit?" Maya met his eyes. "That's classified, Sergeant." The room erupted in laughter. "Classified," Cross repeated. "Right. Okay, Master Chief, here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay in the back. You're going to follow my orders exactly. You're going to move when I say move, stop when I say stop, and if things get hot, you're going to stay down and let the professionals handle it. Clear." "Crystal clear, Sergeant." "Outstanding. Everybody gear up. We step off in 20. The team dispersed, heading to the armory to collect their weapons and equipment. Maya followed, keeping her distance, watching how they moved together, how they communicated with looks and gestures that came from working together for months. They were a team. She was an outsider. The armory sergeant issued her an M4 loaded with simunition non-lethal rounds that marked their targets with paint. Body armor, helmet, radio headset. She geared up methodically, checking each piece of equipment with the thoroughness her father had drilled into her. Never assume anything works. Always verify. You need help with that, Master Chief. Cross was standing behind her watching. Vest looks a little loose. I've got it, Sergeant. Thank you. You sure? Because if that vest slips during the exercise and you get tagged, it's going to hurt like hell. I'm aware. Cross leaned closer. His breath smelled like coffee and tobacco. You know what I think, Master Chief? I think you're scared. I think you're in way over your head. I think you're about 5 minutes away from realizing you don't belong here. Maya finished adjusting her vest, turned to face him. They were 6 inches apart now. Sergeant Cross, I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Let's just focus on the mission. The mission. He laughed. Yeah, okay, the mission. Try not to get shot, Master Chief. It would be a real shame if something happened to you. The way he said it made it clear he'd be perfectly happy if something did. They loaded into 2 Humvees and drove to the training site, a mock village constructed specifically for urban combat scenarios. 3-story buildings, narrow streets, hidden sniper positions. It looked like something out of Iraq or Afghanistan, which was exactly the point. Captain Stone was there standing with a tactical observer and a camera crew that would be recording every moment of the exercise for later review. He saw Maya nodded, once expression unreadable. The teams gathered around for final brief. Stone's voice carried across the training ground. Listen up. Rules of engagement are simple. You clear each building, you secure each room, you locate and extract any hostages, you neutralize any threats. This is as close to real combat as we can make it without actual bullets. Treat it seriously. Move like your lives depend on it, because someday they will. He looked at Maya. Special note for our newest participant. If you get overwhelmed, if you can't keep up, there's no shame in calling for a tactical pause. We'd rather stop the exercise than have you get hurt. Everyone understand? Murmurs of acknowledgement. Team 3, you're up first. Move out. Cross led them toward Building 1, a 3-story concrete structure with barred windows and multiple entry points. He hand-signaled the team into position. Vance on point, Morrison and Davidson covering angles, Lou and Jackson ready to follow. Maya stayed at the back, weapon ready, watching. On my mark, Cross whispered into the radio. 3, 2, 1, execute. Vance kicked the door. It flew open with a crash that echoed through the empty street. The team flowed inside, weapons up, moving with practiced precision. Maya followed, keeping her distance, maintaining situational awareness. The first floor was clear. Empty rooms, overturned furniture, graffiti on the walls in Arabic. Everything designed to simulate the chaos of real combat. They moved to the stairs. Vance took point again, weapon tracking up the stairwell, scanning for threats. The second floor landing appeared. A target popped up, armed, hostile. Vance fired twice. Paint splattered across the target's chest. Tango down. They cleared the second floor room by room. More targets. More simulated hostiles. The team moved like a machine, each operator knowing exactly where to be, what to do, how to support each other. And Maya watched, cataloged, learned. Third floor. Cross hand-signaled for a dynamic entry, hard and fast, overwhelming force. Vance kicked the door. The team flooded in, chaos. Multiple targets, hostile and civilian mixed together. A hostage in the corner. Simulated gunfire. Someone shouting in Arabic from a hidden speaker. The team engaged. Paint rounds flying, targets dropping. Perfect execution. Except, Maya saw it before anyone else did. A target behind a partial wall, angled so only someone at the back of the formation would see it. Armed, aiming at Cross's exposed flank. She didn't think. Training took over. 2 shots. Center mass. The target collapsed, paint marks perfectly placed over the vital zones. The room went silent. Cross turned, stared at her. What the hell was that? Target behind the wall, Sergeant. You were exposed. He walked over, looked at the fallen target, then back at Maya. His expression was complicated. Surprise, anger, maybe a little bit of respect, trying to break through the resentment. I had it. Yes, Sergeant. Don't do that again. I'm team leader. I make the calls. Understood, Sergeant. They finished the exercise, extracted the hostage, cleared the building, walked out into the bright morning sun where Captain Stone and the observers were waiting with clipboards and cameras and expressions that suggested they'd seen something interesting. Stone approached. Team 3, gather up. They formed a loose circle. Maya stood at the edge apart. Overall solid work. Good communication. Good movement. Vance, excellent breaching. Morrison, your comms were clear. Davidson, good shot placement. Stone paused. Cross, you got sloppy on the 3rd floor. Left your flank exposed. In a real scenario, you'd be dead. Cross's jaw tightened. Yes, sir. Master Chief Cross engaged the threat that would have killed you. Clean shots. Professional execution. Care to explain that, Master Chief? Every eye turned to her. Just following protocol, sir. I saw a threat to a team member. I engaged. Where'd you learn to shoot like that? Range time, sir. Bullshit. Stone's voice was flat. Those were SEAL-qualified shots. Precision, speed. Exactly the kind of shooting we teach at advanced close-quarters combat schools. He stepped closer. So I'll ask you again, where'd you learn to shoot like that? Maya held his gaze. With respect, sir, that's classified. The silence that followed was thick with tension. Finally, Stone nodded. All right. Keep your secrets, Master Chief. But understand this, if you're going to participate in my training exercises, you're going to do it honestly. No more hiding behind classification. No more pretending to be something you're not. You're either a technical advisor, in which case you observe and don't engage, or you're an operator, in which case you train like everyone else and take the same risks. You don't get to have it both ways. I understand, sir. Do you... Stone's voice dropped. Because from where I'm standing, you just proved you're way more than a simple technical advisor, which means you've been lying to me and my men from day one, and I don't appreciate being lied to. Maya said nothing. Dismissed. All of you. Debrief at 1400 hours. The team dispersed. Maya started to walk away. Cross, my office, now. She followed Stone across the training ground past clusters of soldiers who stopped their conversations to watch them pass. The walk felt like a mile. Her heart rate climbed. 70 beats per minute. 80. Not fear, just adrenaline. The body's natural response to confrontation. Stone's office felt smaller with the door closed. He stood between her and the exit. Deliberate positioning. Intimidation tactic. She'd seen it before. Who are you really? Stone asked quietly. And don't give me that classified bullshit. I want the truth. Sir, I can't. Yes, you can. Because right now you have 2 choices. Tell me the truth, or I report you to Colonel Rains for conducting operations under false pretenses. I'll have your credentials pulled, your clearance reviewed, your entire background investigated, and whatever game you're playing ends right here, right now. Maya's mind raced, calculating, measuring risks. She could stonewall. She could report this conversation to Rains. She could Navy SEAL, she said quietly. DevGru, Red Squadron, 3 combat deployments. I'm here on a classified assessment mission. That's all I can tell you. Stone stared at her for a long moment, then he laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. DevGru, Red Squadron. You're telling me you're a SEAL Team 6 operator? Was, past tense. And you're how old? 23. Horseshit. Nobody makes DevGru by 23. The training pipeline alone takes years. I started at 18, made it through Buds at 19, Green Team at 20, first deployment at 21. She paused. My father was Master Chief Robert Cross. He trained half the operators currently serving. I grew up in this world, Captain. It's all I know. Stone's expression shifted. Recognition. Robert Cross, Red Squadron, died in Syria 2021. Yes, sir. I knew him, worked with him on a joint operation in 19. He was... Stone trailed off. He was the best operator I ever met, and you're his daughter. Yes, sir. Another long silence. Then Stone sat down heavily in his chair. Why didn't you tell me this from the start? Because my mission requires operational security. If people know who I really am, they change their behavior. I need to observe natural unit dynamics, natural interactions. The moment you know I'm DevGru, everything changes. It's already changed, Master Chief. You just shot like a Tier 1 operator in front of 47 witnesses. Maya nodded slowly. Yes, sir, I'm aware. So what happens now? Now we continue the mission. You keep my background quiet. I complete my assessment. 18 months, then I'm done. And if I refuse, then you explain to Colonel Rains why you compromised a classified operation because your ego couldn't handle being observed. Stone's eyes narrowed. But he didn't argue. Couldn't argue. They both knew she was right. Fine, he said finally. Your secret stays secret. But Master Chief, let me be clear about something. I don't care who your father was. I don't care what units you served with. Here you're just another operator trying to prove yourself. And if you can't keep up, if you become a liability, I will have you removed. Family legacy or not. I wouldn't expect anything less, sir. Good. Dismissed. Maya left. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear, from rage. Pure white-hot rage at men like Stone who looked at women and saw weakness, saw political appointments, saw anything except competence earned through blood and pain and years of work that would have broken most people. She made it back to her quarters, closed the door, sat on her bed, and for the first time in 3 years, she let herself cry. Not for long, just enough to release the pressure. Then she wiped her eyes, washed her face, and got back to work, because the mission wasn't over. It was just beginning, and Captain Derek Stone had no idea what he'd just unleashed. The tears dried fast. They always did. Maya had learned years ago that crying was a luxury she couldn't afford for long. 5 minutes to feel it, then lock it away, and get back to work. That's what her father had taught her. That's what kept her alive. She pulled out her encrypted laptop and started typing her first report. Observation logs, interaction summaries, initial assessment of unit culture. The words came mechanically, clinically, each sentence a small act of betrayal against men who were just doing their jobs the way they'd been taught. But some of them weren't just doing their jobs. Some of them were creating an environment where women couldn't survive, and that was why she was here. Her phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. Equipment cage, 2100 hours, come alone. No signature, no identification. Maya stared at the screen, calculating probabilities. Trap test, genuine outreach from someone who wanted to help. The odds were 60-40 in favor of trap, but she couldn't ignore it. She checked her watch. 1847 hours. 3 hours to prepare. She ate dinner alone in her quarters. MRE chicken and rice. Not because the chow hall wasn't available, but because she needed space to think. The equipment cage was on the far side of the base, away from the main building's poorly lit minimal security camera coverage. Perfect place for a confrontation that nobody wanted recorded. Perfect place to make someone disappear if you knew what you were doing. Maya cleaned her pistol, checked the magazine, one in the chamber, safety on. She wouldn't bring it to the meeting, too provocative, too likely to escalate things, but she wanted it ready in case she needed to come back for it fast. At 20:45 hours, she left her quarters and walked across the base. The temperature had dropped to a tolerable 85 degrees. Desert night sounds filled the air. Somewhere in the distance, soldiers were singing cadence. The rhythmic chant of warriors preparing for war. The equipment cage was exactly where she remembered a large chain-link enclosure filled with training equipment, weapons crates, and the accumulated debris of military operations. A single overhead light cast long shadows across the ground. Someone was already there. Sergeant Marcus Webb stood with his arms crossed, expression unreadable. Behind him, partially hidden in shadow, were 3 other soldiers. Maya recognized them from the training brief. All Team 3 members, all loyal to Cross. Master Chief, Webb's voice was neutral. Thanks for coming. Sergeant, you want to tell me what this is about? We want answers. Maya stopped walking 10 feet away, maintained distance, kept her weight balanced. Old habits. Answers to what? to who you really are. Webb stepped forward into the light. We've been asking around, talking to people. Nobody knows you. Nobody's worked with you. Nobody's even heard of you. And today you shot like someone with years of advanced training. So we want to know, who the hell are you? I told Captain Stone. We don't care what you told Stone. We care about the truth. Because if you're really DevGru, if you're really a Tier 1 operator, then you've been lying to us from day one. And we don't take kindly to liars. One of the soldiers behind Webb moved slightly. Maya tracked the movement without looking directly at him. 4 against 1. Manageable but not ideal. She needed to de-escalate. I'm here to do a job, Sergeant. That's all you need to know. That's not good enough. Webb's voice hardened. You want to train with us. You want to be part of this unit, then you earn it. No more hiding behind classification. No more pretending to be something you're not. And how do you suggest I earn it? Webb smiled. It wasn't friendly. Prove yourself. Right here. Right now. Hand to hand. You and Corporal Vance. No rules. No supervision. Just 2 operators testing each other. You win, we accept you. You lose, you request transfer and leave us alone. Maya looked past Webb at the man stepping forward. Corporal Vance, 6'4", 240 pounds, combatives champion. The same man Cross had mentioned during the team brief. And if I refuse, then we know you're a fraud, and frauds don't last long around here. Maya's heart rate climbed, 80 beats per minute, 90. Not fear, calculation. She could walk away. Report this to Rains. Have Webb and his crew disciplined for threatening a superior officer. But that would destroy any chance of completing her mission. She'd be labeled a snitch, isolated, completely unable to observe the natural dynamics she was sent to document. Or she could fight. Prove herself the way these men understood proof. Through violence, through dominance, through the language they'd been speaking their entire careers. No weapons, Maya asked quietly. No weapons. No permanent damage. We're not animals, Master Chief. We just want to see what you've got. Maya looked at Vance. He was smiling now, confident, already envisioning how this would end. She'd seen that smile before. On instructors who thought she'd quit. On enemies who thought she'd break. On men who thought women couldn't fight. They were always surprised when they were wrong. All right, Maya said. Let's do this. They cleared a space in the center of the equipment cage. The 4 soldiers formed a loose circle blocking any escape routes. Not that Maya was planning to escape. She was planning to teach these men a lesson they'd never forget. Vance stepped into the circle, rolling his shoulders, loosening up. No hard feelings, Master Chief. This is just business. I understand. You sure you want to do this? You're what, 120-130, I outweigh you by 100 pounds. I'm sure. Your funeral. Vance dropped into a fighting stance. Orthodox, hands up, weight balanced, textbook martial arts form. Maya stood perfectly still. Hands at her sides, weight centered, breathing slow and steady. Webb called out, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Vance charged forward fast for his size, going for a takedown. Classic strategy, use superior size and strength to overwhelm, get the opponent on the ground, control through position. Maya waited until he was within range, then moved. Not away. Through. She slipped inside his guard, drove her elbow into his solar plexus, hooked his lead leg, and used his own momentum to send him crashing face first into the dirt. The whole sequence took less than 2 seconds. Vance hit hard. Dust exploded around him. He rolled, came up coughing, surprised but not done. Lucky shot, he wheezed. Maya said nothing, just reset her stance and waited. Vance came at her again, more cautious this time. He threw a jab, testing her reactions. Maya slipped. It countered with a palm strike to his jaw that snapped his head back. He stumbled. She swept his legs. He went down again. This time he stayed down longer, breathing hard, confusion replacing confidence. What the hell? Webb's voice cut through the night. Vance, get up. Vance struggled to his feet, blood trickling from his split lip. She's fast. Then stop playing around and end this. But something had changed in Vance's expression. The confidence was gone, replaced by the dawning realization that he was outmatched. He circled Maya carefully now, respecting her space, looking for an opening that didn't exist. "Come on," Maya said quietly. "You wanted to see what I've got. I'm showing you." Vance lunged. Maya sidestepped, caught his wrist, twisted, applied pressure to the joint. He gasped in pain, dropped to one knee. She could have broken his arm, could have dislocated his shoulder, could have ended his career right there. Instead, she released him and stepped back. "We done here?" Vance clutched his wrist, staring at her with something between awe and terror. "Yeah, we're done." "Good." Maya looked at Webb. "Anyone else want to test me?" Silence. "Didn't think so." She turned to walk away. "Wait." Webb's voice stopped her. "How did you learn to fight like that?" Maya looked back over her shoulder. "Same place you learned, Sergeant. Through pain and repetition and instructors who didn't care if I cried as long as I got back up. I earned every skill I have. Same as you. Same as everyone here. The only difference is, you assumed I hadn't because I'm a woman. That's not... Yes, it is. You saw my age and my gender, and decided I couldn't possibly be qualified. You didn't ask about my background. You didn't review my training records. You just assumed, and that assumption almost cost Corporal Vance a broken arm." Webb had the decency to look ashamed. "You're right. I apologize. I don't want your apology, Sergeant. I want your respect, and apparently the only way to get it is to beat it into you." Maya's voice was cold. "So here's how this works from now on. I do my job, you do yours. We stay professional, we stay focused, and we stop playing these stupid dominance games that waste everyone's time. Clear? Clear, Master Chief." Maya walked away. Her hands were shaking again, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From the rush of combat. Even simulated combat. Even combat that was just proving a point. Some part of her had enjoyed that. The part her father had cultivated. The part that made her good at killing. She hated that part. She made it back to her quarters without incident. Locked the door, sat on her bed, tried to slow her heart rate back to normal. Failed. It stayed elevated for 20 minutes. Her body still flooded with chemicals designed to keep her alive in dangerous situations. Finally, around midnight, exhaustion took over. She lay down, fully clothed, pistol within reach, and fell into the kind of light tactical sleep that wasn't really rest. Every sound woke her. Every footstep outside her door. Every vehicle passing by. The hypervigilance of someone who'd spent too long in places where sleep could get you killed. At 05:30 hours, her alarm went off. She'd managed maybe 3 hours of actual rest. It would have to be enough. The morning PT session was brutal. 5-mile run in full gear, followed by an obstacle course, followed by a swim test in the base pool. Maya kept pace with the front group, refusing to fall behind, refusing to show weakness. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. She ignored both and kept moving. Captain Stone watched from the sideline, stopwatch in hand, expression neutral. When Maya crossed the finish line, third place overall, first among anyone not on a specialized team, he nodded once. Acknowledgement without approval. After PT, there was a mandatory briefing on operational security. Maya sat in the back and watched the other soldiers file in. Some of them looked at her differently now. Word had spread about the fight with Vance, about how she'd handled 4 soldiers without breaking a sweat. Good. Let them know. Let them understand she wasn't someone they could push around. The briefing was standard material. Proper handling of classified information, communication protocols, what to do if you suspected a security breach. Maya had heard it all before, sat through dozens of identical presentations. She spent the time observing instead, watching how the operators interacted with each other. Who sat together? Who avoided eye contact? Who seemed uncomfortable or isolated? And that's when she saw him. Specialist Robert Morrison, 24 years old, Army Rangers, sitting alone in the corner, deliberately apart from everyone else. His body language screamed isolation, hunched shoulders, downcast eyes, the posture of someone who'd been systematically excluded. Maya made a mental note to talk to him later. After the briefing, she headed to the equipment cage different from the one where she'd fought Vance. This one was for actual gear issue to draw supplies for the next training evolution. The sergeant running the cage was older, maybe 50, with the kind of weathered face that suggested he'd seen multiple wars and lived to tell about it. "Master Chief Cross," he said, checking her paperwork. "You need a full combat load." "Yes, Sergeant." He started pulling gear, body armor, helmet, radio ammunition pouches. As he worked, he said casually, "Heard you put on quite a show last night." Maya stiffened. News travels fast. Always does in a place like this. Small community. Everybody knows everybody's business. He handed her the body armor. For what it's worth, Vance is a good kid. But he needed someone to humble him. He's been getting cocky. You did him a favor. "I wasn't trying to do him any favors, Sergeant." "I know. You were trying to survive. That's different. That's honest." He looked at her directly. "Your old man trained me in '98. CQB school. Best instructor I ever had. Fair, but brutal. Didn't care who you were or where you came from. Only cared if you could do the job." Maya's throat tightened. "You knew him." "Knew of him mostly. But I was there the day he ran the final exercise. Watched him take down 6 role players in under 10 seconds. Perfect technique. Perfect control. Never seen anything like it before or since." The sergeant smiled. "Until last night, apparently. You've got his moves, his timing. It's like watching a ghost." "I'm not my father." "No, you're not. You're better. Because you're doing this in a world that doesn't want you here. That takes a different kind of courage." He finished loading her gear onto a cart. "Good luck out there, Master Chief. You're going to need it." The next training evolution was live fire movement drills. Teams would advance across an open range while engaging pop-up targets at unknown distances. Speed and accuracy both counted. Scoring was competitive. Everyone's performance would be posted publicly. Maya's team gathered at the staging area. Cross was in full sergeant mode, barking orders, running through procedures. Vance was there, sporting a bruised jaw and avoiding eye contact with Maya. The others were professional but distant. "Listen up," Cross said. "This isn't a game. Live ammunition. Real consequences if someone screws up. We move as a team. We shoot as a team. Master Chief, you're in the middle of the formation. Morrison will be on your left, Davidson on your right. You keep up with them. You follow their lead. You don't do anything stupid. Clear?" "Clear, Sergeant." They moved to the starting line. Maya checked her weapon, M4 rifle, 30 rounds full combat load. Her heart rate dropped to combat ready. 65 beats per minute. Steady. Controlled. The range safety officer called out, "Team 3, you're hot, on the whistle." Cross raised his hand. "Ready positions." The team dropped into combat stances, weapons up, eyes downrange. The whistle blew. They moved. Fast, coordinated covering angles as they advanced. The first target popped up at 50 meters. Maya acquired it, fired twice, watched it drop. The second target appeared at 75 meters. She engaged. Hit. The third at 100 meters. Hit. They reached the halfway point. Cross signaled for a formation shift. The team executed perfectly, flowing into new positions without breaking stride. More targets. More engagements. Maya's shooting was mechanical, precise, every trigger pull exactly when it needed to be. They crossed the finish line. Cross called ceasefire. The team lowered their weapons, breathing hard from the sprint in full gear. The range safety officer checked the scoring system. Team 3 total time 2 minutes 48 seconds. Accuracy 96%. Outstanding performance. Cross looked at his team, then at Maya. "Who missed shots?" "I did, Sergeant." Vance raised his hand. 2 misses at long range. "Work on that." "Davidson. Clean sweep, Sergeant." "Morrison. 1 miss, target 7. Cross nodded, then turned to Maya. "Master Chief. Clean sweep, Sergeant." He stared at her for a long moment. "You sure about that?" "Yes, Sergeant, I'm sure." Cross walked to the scoring computer, pulled up the detailed logs. Each shot recorded. Each hit tracked to individual weapons through electronic systems. He scanned the data, his expression shifting from skepticism to surprise to something Maya couldn't quite identify. Master Chief Cross, 23 engagements, 23 hits, average time to target acquisition 0.6 seconds, fastest on the team. He looked up. Where the hell did you learn to shoot like that? Maya met his eyes. Through practice, Sergeant. Lots of practice. Bullshit. Nobody shoots that clean without advanced training. I'm talking sniper school. Special operations qualification. Years of... He stopped. Understanding dawned. You're not just Navy, are you? Your teams. The whole team went quiet. I can't confirm or deny that, Sergeant. You don't have to. I can read between the lines. Cross's voice dropped. How long? 3 years active duty, 2 deployments. Deployments where... That's classified. Cross laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Of course it is. Jesus Christ. Stone said you were Dev Gru. I thought he was exaggerating. But you're actually... He shook his head. This is insane. You're 23 years old. Age is just a number, Sergeant. Not in this world. In this world, age equals experience equals survival. You shouldn't be alive. Nobody makes it through the pipeline that young and lives long enough to tell about it. I got lucky. No. Cross stepped closer. You didn't get lucky. You got good. There's a difference. And now you're here pretending to be a technical advisor, when really you're what? Observing us, judging us, documenting everything we do for some report that's going to end careers. Maya said nothing. Because he was right. That's exactly what she was doing. I knew it. Cross turned to his team. Listen up. New rules. Everything we say around the Master Chief, we assume it's being recorded. Everything we do, we assume it's being evaluated. We go full professional mode. No jokes, no casual conversation, no letting our guard down. Because apparently, we've got a spy in our ranks. Sergeant, shut up, Master Chief. I'm not done. His voice was ice. You want to observe us, fine, but don't expect us to make it easy. Don't expect us to trust you. And definitely don't expect us to treat you like one of the team. You're here to judge us. Then we'll show you exactly what we want you to see. Nothing more. Nothing less. He walked away. The team followed, leaving Maya standing alone on the firing line. She wanted to scream, wanted to explain, wanted to tell them she wasn't the enemy that she was trying to help, that the toxic culture that had developed here was hurting everyone, not just the women who couldn't survive it. But she couldn't. Because operational security mattered more than their feelings. The mission mattered more than being liked. She secured her weapon and headed back to the armory. The specialist manning the desk took her rifle without comment, but Maya could see the judgment in his eyes. Word had spread. She was no longer just an outsider. She was a threat. The rest of the day passed in hostile silence. People who'd been cordial before now avoided her. Conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Eyes tracked her movements with suspicion and resentment. By 1800 hours, Maya was exhausted. Not physically, her body could handle the training load indefinitely, but emotionally. The constant vigilance, the constant performance, the weight of carrying her father's legacy while trying to forge her own path. She was heading back to her quarters when she heard someone calling her name. Master Chief Cross. She turned. Specialist Morrison was jogging toward her, the same soldier she'd noticed sitting alone during the briefing. Up close, he looked even younger than his file suggested. Baby face, nervous energy. Specialist. Can I talk to you privately? Maya glanced around. Nobody watching, at least nobody obvious. Walk with me. They headed toward the perimeter of the base away from the main buildings. Morrison walked with his hands in his pockets, eyes on the ground. I heard what happened, he said quietly. With Sergeant Cross. With the team turning on you. News really does travel fast here. It's not fair, you're just doing your job. Maya looked at him. Why do you care, Specialist? Morrison stopped walking. Took a deep breath. Because I know what it's like to be the outsider. To have everyone assume you don't belong. To work twice as hard for half the respect. Go on. I'm gay, Master Chief. Not openly. Can't be not here. But people suspect, and they make my life hell because of it. Nothing overt. Nothing I can report. Just constant little reminders that I'm different. That I'm not one of them. That I'll never be one of them. Maya's chest tightened. I'm sorry, Specialist. Don't be sorry. Just understand. You're not the only one fighting battles nobody sees. You're not the only one pretending to be okay when everything inside is screaming. Morrison met her eyes. I don't know what your real mission is. I don't care. But I wanted you to know that some of us get it. Some of us know you're trying to make things better. And we appreciate it even if we can't say it out loud. He walked away before Maya could respond. She stood there for a long moment watching him disappear into the twilight. Her throat was tight. Her eyes burned. Because Morrison was right. She wasn't alone. There were others fighting invisible battles, enduring invisible wounds, surviving in a system that didn't want them there. And that's why this mission mattered. She made it back to her quarters and immediately started typing a report. Documented everything. The fight with Vance, the conversation with Cross, the isolation tactics being employed, Morrison's confession about the discrimination he faced. The picture that emerged was clear. Joint Task Force Bravo had a culture problem. Not everyone. Not even most people. But enough. Enough toxic leaders. Enough silent enablers. Enough people who saw the problems and did nothing. And that silence was its own form of violence. Maya was still typing when someone pounded on her door. Hard. Aggressive. The kind of knock that wasn't asking permission to enter, it was demanding entry. She saved her work, encrypted the file, closed her laptop, stood up, positioned herself with clear lines of sight to the door and the window. Old habits. Who is it? Captain Stone. Open up. She unlocked the door. Stone pushed his way inside, his expression thunderous. Behind him stood Sergeant Major Ramon Hayes, a man she'd only seen from a distance. 48 years old, legendary SEAL instructor, the kind of warrior who'd trained generations of operators. Stone closed the door, turned to face her. We have a problem, Master Chief. Sir, your little stunt last night with Corporal Vance, it's all over social media. Someone recorded it, posted it online. Now I've got the Inspector General's office calling me asking why a Master Chief was engaging in unauthorized hand-to-hand combat with junior enlisted personnel. Maya's blood ran cold. I didn't authorize any recording, sir. I don't care who authorized it. It exists. And now I have to explain why a classified operator was conducting operations that compromise her cover. Stone's voice was dangerous. You want to know what the IG told me? They're pulling you out. Effective immediately. Your mission is over. Sir, I need more time. You don't get more time. You get extraction tomorrow morning and a review board to determine if your entire operation was compromised. Stone leaned closer. Congratulations, Master Chief. You lasted 4 days. That's got to be some kind of record for failed undercover operations. Sergeant Major Hayes spoke for the first time. His voice was calm, measured, carrying the authority of someone who'd seen everything and was impressed by nothing. Captain, permission to speak privately with Master Chief Cross. Stone looked at Hayes, surprised. Sergeant Major. 5 minutes, Captain. That's all I need. Stone's jaw tightened, but he nodded. 5 minutes. He left, closing the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Hayes studied Maya in silence. His eyes were the color of weathered steel, sharp and assessing. Finally, he spoke. Your father saved my life in Ramadi, 2006. I was pinned down, wounded, out of ammunition. He cleared 3 buildings by himself to reach me, carried me half a mile to the extraction point with a bullet in his own shoulder. Hayes paused. I owe him everything, which means I owe you the truth. What truth? This base is broken, Master Chief. Has been for years. Good men trying to do good work, but surrounded by a culture that protects the wrong people and punishes the right ones. Your mission documenting that culture, it's the right mission. But the way you're doing it is wrong. How so? You're trying to observe from the outside, trying to stay separate, trying to avoid becoming part of the system you're studying. Hayes shook his head. That doesn't work here. These men will never trust an outsider. They'll never show you the truth unless you become one of them. I can't compromise my objectivity. Then you can't complete your mission. Hayes's voice was flat. You have a choice, Master Chief. Get extracted tomorrow and file a report based on 4 days of shallow observations. Or stay here, earn their trust the hard way, and actually change something that matters. But you can't do both. You have to pick. Maya sat down on her bed, felt the weight of everything pressing down. Her father's legacy, her own career, the mission. Morrison's quiet plea for someone to care. All of it crushing her simultaneously. If I stay, she said slowly, Stone will make my life hell. Yes. The team will never accept me. Not at first. I'll be completely isolated. Completely vulnerable. Yes. Then why would I stay? Hayes smiled. It was sad and knowing and carried the weight of decades of hard decisions. Because your father wouldn't quit, and neither will you. Because that's who the Cross family is. You don't run from hard missions. You run toward them. He headed for the door, paused with his hand on the knob. Tomorrow morning, Aero 600 hours, Stone is going to ask if you want extraction. What you say determines everything. Choose wisely, Master Chief. He left. Maya sat alone in her quarter's darkness, gathering outside her window, and wondered if her father had ever felt this lost, this uncertain, this completely alone. She pulled out his knife, ran her thumb along the blade, and whispered to the empty room. What would you do, Dad? How would you fight this? The knife had no answers, just cold steel and old memories and the weight of expectations she'd been carrying since she was 16 years old. At some point, she fell asleep, sitting up the knife still in her hands, dreaming of firefights, and her father's voice telling her to get back up, that warriors don't quit, that the mission always matters more than the pain. When her alarm went off at 05:30 hours, Maya made her decision. She wasn't going anywhere. Captain Stone was waiting for her at 0600 hours in his office, exactly as Sergeant Major Hayes had predicted. He sat behind his desk with the kind of stillness that suggested he'd been there for a while, thinking, calculating, preparing for this conversation. Maya knocked once and entered without waiting for permission. Master Chief? Stone gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. She sat, spine straight, hands folded, ready. I spoke with Colonel Rains this morning. The IG wants you extracted today. They're concerned about operational compromise, about your safety, about the integrity of the mission. Stone paused. But Rains gave me discretion to make the final call. So I'm asking you directly, do you want to stay or go? Maya didn't hesitate. Stay, sir. Stone's eyebrows rose slightly. You understand what that means? The video is out there. People know you can fight. Your cover as a simple technical advisor is blown. Every interaction from here forward will be colored by that knowledge. I understand, sir. And you still want to stay? Yes, sir. Why? Maya met his eyes. Because the mission isn't complete. Because 4 days isn't enough to understand what's really happening here. Because if I leave now, nothing changes. The same problems will exist. The same people will suffer. And my father didn't raise me to quit when things got hard. Something flickered in Stone's expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. All right. You stay. But here are my terms. He leaned forward. No more secrets. No more hiding who you are. If you're going to be here honestly. Train with the teams. Participate fully. Let them see what you're capable of. Earn their trust the old-fashioned way. That will change their behavior, sir. They'll perform differently if they know they're being evaluated. Maybe. But at least it'll be honest performance. An honest performance is what we need to see, not whatever act they've been putting on for the Inspector General. Stone's voice hardened. Master Chief, I don't like being investigated. I don't like having my command scrutinized by people who've never led soldiers in combat. But if there are real problems here, I need to know about them. So, you do your job, document what you see, and I'll do mine. Deal. Deal, sir. Good. Dismissed. Team brief is at 0700. I expect you there. Maya stood, saluted, turned to leave. Cross. She looked back. For what it's worth, your father would be proud of you. He was always the one who stood up when everyone else sat down. Looks like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Her throat tightened. Thank you, sir. The team brief was different this time. Maya arrived early and took a seat in the middle of the room instead of the back. When the others filtered in, she met their eyes instead of avoiding them. Vance nodded to her, hesitant but acknowledging. Morrison smiled slightly. Cross ignored her completely. Captain Stone entered, and the room snapped to attention. At ease. Listen up. Change of plans. Master Chief Cross is no longer operating under technical advisor cover. Her real assignment is cultural assessment and penetration testing. She's here to evaluate our training programs, our unit cohesion, and our readiness to integrate with other special operations forces. Anyone have a problem with that? Silence. But the kind of silence that was full of unspoken words. Didn't think so. Master Chief, anything you want to say? Maya stood. Every eye in the room tracked her movement. I'm not here to end careers or ruin lives. I'm here to identify problems and recommend solutions. If you're doing your job professionally, you have nothing to worry about. If you're not, then we both have work to do. She paused. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm asking you to work with me. That's all. She sat down. The silence continued for another beat, then Stone moved on to the day's training schedule. But something had shifted. The hostility was still there, but it was different now, less personal, more professional. The kind of resentment that came from being observed rather than the kind that came from being deceived. It was progress, small but real. The morning's training evolution was a helicopter insertion exercise. Teams would fast rope from a hovering helicopter, secure a landing zone, and clear an objective building. High risk, high complexity, the kind of operation where mistakes got people killed. Maya geared up with Team 3, checking her equipment with the thoroughness that had become second nature. Helmet, gloves, rappelling harness, weapons secured, radio check. Everything had to be perfect because perfect was the only standard that mattered when you were dangling from a rope 40 feet above the ground. The helicopter was a UH-60 Blackhawk, its rotors already spinning when the team approached. The crew chief waved them aboard, shouting instructions that were barely audible over the engine noise. Maya climbed in last, took her position near the door, felt the familiar lurch as the aircraft lifted off. She'd done this dozens of times. Jumped from helicopters in training, in combat, in conditions ranging from perfect daylight to pitch black night over hostile territory. But her heart rate still climbed. 90 beats per minute. 100. The body's natural response to controlled falling. Cross was running the rope. He moved down the line, checking each operator's harness, tugging straps, ensuring everything was secure. When he reached Maya, he paused. You done this before, Master Chief? Yes, Sergeant. How many times? Lost count after 50. His eyes narrowed, but he didn't argue. Just checked her harness with extra thoroughness, pulled hard on the connection, satisfied himself that everything was correct. Don't screw this up, he said quietly. If you fall, it'll be my ass on the line. I won't fall, Sergeant. The helicopter banked hard, approaching the drop zone. The crew chief gave the 1-minute warning. The team moved to the doors, ropes deployed, hands gripping the thick braided line that would carry them to the ground. 30 seconds, 20, 10, green light. Cross went first, disappearing into the rotor wash. Vance followed. Morrison, Davidson, Liu, Jackson. Maya's turn. She grabbed the rope, swung out into empty air, felt gravity take her. The ground rushed up, wind tearing at her uniform, the helicopter's downdraft creating turbulence that tried to spin her. She controlled her descent with grip pressure, hit the ground, rolled, came up with her weapon ready. The team was already moving, forming a defensive perimeter, scanning for threats. Maya took her position, covering her assigned sector, breathing hard from the adrenaline dump, but otherwise fine. Cross gave the hand signal to advance. They moved toward the objective building, a two-story structure with multiple entry points and unknown interior layout. Classic clearance scenario. They stacked on the primary door. Cross counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Vance breached. The door exploded inward. The team flowed inside, weapons up, moving with practiced precision. Maya followed, maintaining her position in the formation tracking angles, looking for threats. First floor clear, stairs leading up. Cross signaled for a dynamic entry on the second floor. They climbed fast, boots barely touching the steps. The second floor hallway opened up ahead of them, multiple doors, multiple potential threats. And that's when everything went wrong. A target popped up, armed, hostile. But behind it was another target, civilian, no weapon, hands raised. The kind of scenario designed to test judgment under pressure. Morrison was on point. He fired and hit the civilian target by mistake. "Cease fire!" Cross roared. "Cease fire, Morrison! What the hell was that?" Morrison stood frozen, staring at the fallen target, his face pale. "I saw the gun. I thought, you didn't think, you just shot. And in a real scenario, you just killed an innocent person." Cross's voice was ice. "Weapon down. Now." Morrison lowered his rifle, hands shaking. The exercise continued, but the energy had changed. The team was rattled. Morrison was spiraling, and Cross was furious, barking orders with barely controlled rage. They cleared the rest of the building, extracted to the rally point, waited for the helicopter pickup in tense silence. On the flight back, Morrison sat with his head in his hands. Nobody spoke to him. Nobody looked at him. He'd failed. And in this world, failure was unforgivable. Maya watched him across the helicopter cabin, saw the shame and self-hatred written in every line of his body, and made a decision. After they landed and debriefed, she found Morrison sitting alone outside the armory. He was still in his combat gear, staring at nothing. "Specialist." He didn't look up. "Master Chief, walk with me." "I'd rather be alone." "I know. Walk with me anyway." Morrison stood reluctantly and followed her away from the buildings, out toward the desert perimeter, where they could talk without being overheard. "You're beating yourself up," Maya said. "Don't." "I shot a civilian, Master Chief. In a real scenario." But it wasn't a real scenario, it was training. And training is where you make mistakes so you don't make them when lives actually depend on it. She stopped walking, turned to face him. "How long have you been struggling with target identification?" Morrison's jaw tightened. "How did you—" "Because I've watched you. You're a good operator, good instincts, good technical skills. But you hesitate, just a fraction of a second. Like you're second-guessing yourself constantly. I don't want to hurt the wrong people. Nobody does. But that fear, it'll get you killed. Or worse, it'll get your teammates killed because you froze when you needed to act." Maya's voice gentled. "What's really going on, Morrison? Because this isn't just about target identification." He was quiet for a long time. Then quietly he said, "Sergeant Cross knows. About me. About being gay. He hasn't reported it, but he uses it. Makes comments. Suggests I'm weak. Questions my judgment. And I keep trying to prove him wrong, but every time I mess up, it just confirms what he already believes." Maya's hands curled into fists. "That's harassment, Specialist. That's illegal." "Can you prove it?" "Because he's careful. Never says anything direct. Never where there are witnesses. Just constant little reminders that I don't belong." Morrison's voice cracked. "I'm a good soldier, Master Chief. I've earned my place here, but it doesn't matter. He's decided I'm the weak link, and now everyone else believes it too." "I don't believe it." Morrison looked at her, surprised. "You don't—" "No, I believe you're carrying extra weight that nobody else has to carry. I believe the system is rigged against you, but I also believe you're stronger than Cross gives you credit for." Maya pulled out her notebook. "I'm documenting this conversation. With your permission, I'm going to include it in my official report. That'll make everything worse. Maybe. Or maybe it'll finally force people to deal with problems they've been ignoring." She met his eyes. "You deserve better than this, Morrison. You deserve leaders who judge you on your performance, not their prejudices. And I'm going to make sure that happens even if it pisses off everyone on this base. Morrison wiped his eyes roughly. Why do you care? Because my father taught me that leadership means protecting the people who can't protect themselves. And right now, you need protection. Maya closed her notebook. Tomorrow's another training day. Another chance to prove yourself. You're going to nail it. And I'm going to be there to watch you do it. She left him standing there, hoping she'd said the right things, knowing that words weren't enough, but they were all she had right now. The next 72 hours were a blur of training exercises, each one harder than the last. Stone was pushing them, testing limits, looking for breaking points. And through it all, Maya documented everything. Who excelled under pressure? Who cracked? Who supported their teammates? Who isolated and blamed? A pattern emerged. Cross was the linchpin. Talented operator, respected by some, feared by others, and quietly destroying anyone he considered weak or unworthy. On the fourth day after her decision to stay, Maya was in the gym doing maintenance PT when Vance approached. He'd been avoiding her since their fight, but now he stood there, gym bag in hand, looking uncomfortable. Master Chief, got a minute? What do you need, Corporal? I wanted to apologize. For the equipment cage, for setting you up, for... He stopped. For being part of the problem. Maya set down her weights. What changed your mind? I've been watching you, watching how you treat people, Morrison especially. You stood up for him when Cross was tearing him apart after that civilian target mistake. Nobody else did, not even me. Vance sat down on the bench next to her. I grew up thinking strength meant dominance. My dad was a Marine, old school. Taught me that you establish hierarchy through force. And it worked for a while. But watching you, you're strong in a different way. You don't need to dominate. You just are. That's what real leadership looks like, Vance. I'm starting to figure that out. He paused. Cross is wrong about a lot of things. About Morrison. About you. Maybe about all of us. And I'm tired of pretending he's right just because everyone else is afraid to say he's wrong. Maya studied him. You know, speaking up will have consequences. Yeah, but staying silent has consequences too. Morrison almost ate his pistol last night. I heard him in his quarters crying, talking to himself about not being able to take it anymore. Vance's voice was rough. I didn't know what to do. I just walked away. And I've been hating myself for it ever since. Where is he now? With the chaplain. I reported it anonymously. Made sure someone who could actually help knew what was happening. Vance looked at Maya. But it shouldn't be anonymous. It should be official. And I'm willing to go on record if you need witnesses. Maya pulled out her notebook. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Vance talked for 45 minutes. Every incident, every cruel comment, every time Cross had used Morrison's sexuality as a weapon, every time someone had witnessed it and said nothing, the picture that emerged was damning. When he finished, Maya said quietly, "This is going in my report. Colonel Raines will see it. The Inspector General will see it. There will be an investigation." Good. It's about damn time. That evening, Maya was compiling her notes when someone pounded on her door. Not the polite knock of a visitor, the aggressive demand of someone who was furious. She opened the door. Sergeant Cross stood there, rage written in every line of his face. You've been talking to Morrison, to Vance, collecting statements, building a case against me. He pushed past her into the room. You want to destroy my career? Is that what this is about? Sergeant, you need to leave my quarters. I'll leave when you explain why you're targeting me. I've done nothing wrong. You've been systematically harassing a soldier under your command based on his sexual orientation. That's illegal. That's immoral. And it stops now. Cross laughed. Harassment. I've been trying to toughen him up. Make him combat ready. He's weak, Cross. Everyone knows it. He doesn't belong here. He belongs here as much as you do. More actually, because he's not a bigot. Cross's expression went cold. You think you're going to take me down? You think some report is going to matter? I've got friends, allies, People who actually respect me, unlike you. You're just a diversity hire with a famous last name and a chip on your shoulder. Get out of my corridor, Sergeant. That's an order. Or what? You'll fight me, please. I'd love to see you try. Maya's heart rate spiked, 120 beats per minute, adrenaline flooding her system, every combat instinct screaming at her to defend herself, to eliminate the threat, to make this man understand exactly how outmatched he was. But she didn't move, didn't take the bait, just stood there and said calmly, Sergeant Cross, you are in direct violation of Article 92, failure to obey order or regulation. You are also potentially in violation of Article 128, assault. This conversation is being recorded. Every word you say is being documented. And if you don't leave right now, I will have you arrested. Cross stared at her, realized she was serious, realized he'd just made a catastrophic mistake. This isn't over, he said quietly. You want a war? You've got one. He left, slamming the door hard enough to crack the frame. Maya sat down, hands shaking, and immediately sent an encrypted report to Colonel Rains. Subject line, immediate intervention required. She detailed the confrontation, the threats, the pattern of behavior that had led to this moment. Rains responded within 20 minutes. Single sentence. My office, 0600 tomorrow. Bring everything. Maya didn't sleep that night. Couldn't sleep. Because she knew what was coming. The confrontation she'd been building toward. The moment when everything either changed or collapsed completely. At 0600 hours, she walked into Rains's office. Stone was already there. Sergeant Major Hayes. And someone she didn't recognize, a woman in civilian clothes with JAG credentials on her briefcase. Master Chief Cross, Rains said. This is Major Lisa Hartwell, Judge Advocate General's Corps. She's here to take your statement regarding Sergeant Cross. Maya spent 2 hours detailing everything, every incident, every witness, every piece of evidence she'd collected. Hartwell took notes, asked pointed questions, built a case with the efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. When Maya finished, Hartwell said, This is sufficient for an Article 32 investigation. We'll need to interview all witnesses, Corporal Vance, Specialist Morrison, anyone else who can corroborate the pattern of harassment. Morrison won't testify, Stone said quietly. He's terrified, thinks coming forward will end his career. Then we protect him, Maya said. We make it clear that retaliation won't be tolerated. We show him that speaking up matters. Stone looked at her. You know this is going to blow up your mission, right? The moment we start formal proceedings, everyone will know why you're really here. Cultural assessment will be the least of their concerns. I know, sir, but some things matter more than the mission. Rains nodded slowly. All right, Major Hartwell, proceed with the investigation. Stone, I want Cross removed from training rotations immediately. Hayes, you'll take over Team 3. And Cross. He paused. You keep doing what you're doing. Document everything, because this is about to get ugly. They weren't wrong. By 1,000 hours, the entire base knew about the investigation. By noon, Cross had hired a civilian lawyer. By evening, half the base was convinced Maya had manufactured the charges to advance her career. The backlash was immediate and vicious. Someone spray-painted liar on her quarters door. Someone else left a dead rat in her locker. Anonymous messages flooded her phone, threats, insults, accusations. And through it all, Maya kept working, kept documenting, kept standing up for Morrison and Vance and everyone else who'd been suffering in silence. On the third day of the investigation, Morrison came to see her. He looked like he'd aged 10 years, dark circles under his eyes, hands trembling. They're saying I'm making it all up, that I'm lying to get attention, that I'm... His voice broke. Master Chief, I can't do this. I can't testify. I'll lose everything. Maya took his hands. Look at me, Morrison. Look at me. He did, tears streaming down his face. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you're not lying. I believe you. Vance believes you. And by the time this investigation is over, everyone else will believe you too. She squeezed his hands. I know this is hard. I know it feels impossible. But you're stronger than you think. And I'm not letting you go through this alone. What if I'm not strong enough? Then I'll be strong enough for both of us. That's what teammates do. Morrison wiped his eyes, nodded. Okay, I'll testify. I'll tell them everything. That's my soldier. The Article 32 hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Maya spent that time preparing Morrison, reviewing evidence, coordinating with Major Hartwell. The case was solid. Multiple witnesses, documented incidents, clear pattern of behavior. But the night before the hearing, Maya's phone rang. Colonel Rains. Master Chief, we have a problem. Her stomach dropped. What kind of problem, sir? Cross's lawyer is alleging that you fabricated evidence, claims you coached Morrison to lie, says the entire investigation is a vendetta because Cross questioned your qualifications. Rains's voice was grim. They're calling for you to be removed from the case and investigated yourself. Maya closed her eyes. Of course. Of course, this was how it would go. The system protecting itself. The old guard closing ranks. Sir, every piece of evidence is documented, time-stamped, verified. There's no fabrication. I know that. You know that. But Cross's lawyer is good. He's going to make this about you instead of his client. And if we're not careful, you'll be the one facing charges instead of him. What do you recommend, sir? A long pause. Then Rains said something that changed everything. I recommend you prepare for war, Master Chief, because that's exactly what this has become. Maya hung up the phone and sat in the darkness of her quarters, feeling the weight of Rains's words settle into her bones. War. That's what this had become. Not the kind fought with bullets and bombs, but the kind fought in conference rooms and legal briefs and whispered conversations in hallways. The kind where reputations died instead of bodies. She pulled out her father's knife and held it, drawing strength from the cold steel and the memories attached to it. He'd faced moments like this, times when the easy choice was to walk away to protect himself, to let someone else fight the battle. But he never did, and neither would she. At 0200 hours, unable to sleep, Maya started going through every piece of evidence she'd collected, every statement, every recording, every documentation of every incident. She organized it chronologically, cross-referenced witness accounts, built a timeline that was airtight and irrefutable. If Cross's lawyer wanted war, she'd give him war. The hearing was scheduled for 0900 hours. Maya arrived at 0830 dressed in her service khakis ribbons, perfectly aligned, every detail of her appearance screaming professionalism. Major Hartwell was already there, spreading documents across a conference table, preparing for battle. Master Chief. Ready. As I'll ever be, ma'am. Good. Because Cross's lawyer is a shark. Name's Gerald Stanton. Former Marine JAG. He specializes in defending officers accused of misconduct. His strategy is always the same: attack the credibility of the accusers, paint them as vindictive or unstable, create reasonable doubt. Hartwell looked up. He's going to come after you hard. Your age, your gender, your classified background. He'll suggest you're too inexperienced to understand military culture, that you're hypersensitive, that you've misinterpreted normal chain of command interactions as harassment. Let him try. Oh, he will. And Maya, Hartwell's use of her first name was deliberate, personal. He's going to bring up your father, use it against you. Suggest you're trying to live up to an impossible legacy by manufacturing heroics where none exist. Maya's jaw tightened. Then I'll show him he picked the wrong fight. At 0900 hours, the hearing began. The investigating officer was Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Chen, 23 years of service, Silver Star recipient. The kind of officer who'd broken every glass ceiling the military had and then helped other women climb through. She sat at the head of the table, flanked by 2 other officers serving as panel members. Cross sat on one side with Stanton. Maya sat on the other with Hartwell. Between them was a recording device and a court reporter documenting every word. Chen opened the hearing. This is an Article 32 investigation into allegations of conduct unbecoming harassment and violation of military equal opportunity policies against Sergeant First Class Tyler Cross. Master Chief Cross, you may present your opening statement. Maya stood. Ma'am, over the past 6 weeks, I've documented a systematic pattern of harassment directed at Specialist Robert Morrison by Sergeant Cross. This harassment was based solely on Specialist Morrison's sexual orientation and created a hostile work environment that nearly resulted in Morrison's suicide. The evidence I've collected includes witness testimony, audio recordings, and documentation of specific incidents that violated both military regulations and basic human decency. She sat down. Stanton stood immediately. Ma'am, the defense contends that Master Chief Cross has fabricated or grossly mischaracterized normal military training interactions. Sergeant Cross is a decorated combat veteran with 12 years of exemplary service. He has never been accused of harassment in his entire career. The timing of these allegations coming from an operator whose assignment is specifically to find problems is highly suspicious. We believe this is a case of confirmation bias at best and deliberate character assassination at worst. Chen nodded. Noted. Major Hartwell, call your first witness. The prosecution calls Specialist Robert Morrison. Morrison entered the room looking like he might throw up. His uniform was immaculate, but his hands shook as he took his seat. Maya caught his eye, nodded once. You've got this. Hartwell walked him through his testimony. Every incident, every comment, every time Cross had used Morrison's sexuality as a weapon. Morrison's voice was quiet but steady, gaining strength as he spoke. He said I was a liability, that I'd get people killed because I was too... Morrison swallowed hard. Too weak to be a real soldier. He said it in front of the team, made sure everyone heard. And when I tried to defend myself, he'd just laugh and say he was joking, that I needed to toughen up. How did this affect your performance? Hartwell asked. I couldn't focus, couldn't sleep. Every time I went to training, I was so anxious about screwing up that I'd screw up. It became this terrible cycle. And the more I messed up, the more he'd use it as proof that I didn't belong. Stanton stood for cross-examination. Specialist Morrison, you've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, correct? Morrison hesitated. Yes, sir. And you're currently on medication for that condition? Yes, sir. So is it possible that your anxiety disorder caused you to misinterpret Sergeant Cross's attempts to toughen you up as harassment? No, sir. I know the difference between tough training and cruelty. Do you? Because according to your medical records, you've had issues with authority figures since basic training. Multiple counseling sessions, difficulty adapting to military culture. Isn't it possible that you've projected your own insecurities onto Sergeant Cross? Morrison's face went red. No, sir, that's not what happened. But you can't be certain, can you? Your own psychiatrist noted that you have difficulty distinguishing between constructive criticism and personal attacks. Hartwell stood. Objection. The witness's medical history is irrelevant to whether Sergeant Cross violated equal opportunity regulations. Chen sustained the objection, but the damage was done. Stanton had planted doubt. The next witness was Vance. He testified to specific incidents he'd witnessed, times when Cross had made derogatory comments about Morrison's sexuality. His testimony was clear, detailed, damning. But during cross-examination, Stanton asked, Corporal Vance, isn't it true that Master Chief Cross physically assaulted you in an unauthorized combat exercise? Vance's jaw tightened. She defended herself when I attacked her, sir. But you were hospitalized, weren't you? Treated for injuries sustained during that encounter? Bruised ego, mostly. A few chuckles from the panel. Stanton didn't smile. The point is, Master Chief Cross demonstrated a willingness to use violence to make her point. Is it possible she's using this investigation the same way as a weapon to establish dominance? No, sir. She's trying to protect Morrison. There's a difference. Is there? Or is she simply someone who sees problems where none exist because that's what she was sent here to do? Hartwell objected again. Chen sustained it. But again the seed was planted. By lunch recess, Maya could see the panel's uncertainty. Stanton was good. Really good. He was taking solid testimony and twisting it, creating alternate narratives, making the panel question what they were hearing. During the break, Hartwell pulled Maya aside. He's winning. The panel is starting to doubt Morrison's credibility. We need something stronger, something irrefutable. I have recordings, audio from my body-worn device. Play them, all of them. Let the panel hear Cross's voice. That's harder to explain away than witness testimony. The afternoon session began with Maya on the stand. Hartwell walked her through her qualifications, her background, her mission. Then she played the recordings. Cross's voice filled the room, dripping with contempt as he spoke to Morrison. The words were damning. The tone was worse. This wasn't tough love or military discipline. This was cruelty, pure and simple. The panel listened in silence. Chen's expression grew progressively harder. When the recordings ended, Stanton stood for cross-examination. Master Chief Cross, you're 23 years old, correct? Yes, sir. And you achieved the rank of Master Chief in just 5 years of service? Yes, sir. That's highly unusual, almost unprecedented. Would you say you received preferential treatment? No, sir. I earned my rank through performance. Performance in classified operations that nobody in this room can verify. Convenient. Stanton paced. Let's talk about your father, Master Chief Robert Cross. Legendary SEAL. Trained half the operators currently serving. That's a lot to live up to. Objection, Hartwell said. Relevance. I'm establishing motive, ma'am. Master Chief Cross is the daughter of a legend. She's been sent here to find problems. And if she doesn't find problems, she fails. She fails her mission. She fails to live up to her father's legacy. So she manufactures problems where none exist. Maya's hands clenched under the table. That's not what happened, sir. Isn't it? You arrive at this base, immediately start looking for misconduct. You instigate physical confrontations. You cultivate witnesses who have existing disciplinary issues. You record private conversations without consent, with full legal authorization under my operational parameters. Parameters that are classified, that we can't verify, that we're supposed to just trust exist. Stanton leaned forward. Master Chief, isn't it possible that you're so desperate to prove yourself that you've convinced yourself Sergeant Cross is a villain when he's actually just a dedicated soldier doing his job? No, sir. I documented what I observed. Nothing more, nothing less. But your observations are filtered through your own biases, your own need to succeed, your own desire to prove that you're as good as your father. Stanton's voice dropped. How did your father die, Master Chief? Hartwell shot to her feet. Objection. This is completely out of line. Chen agreed. Sustained. Counselor, stick to relevant questions. But Stanton had made his point. He'd suggested that Maya's judgment was clouded by personal trauma, that her entire investigation was motivated by psychological need rather than objective observation. Maya sat there, rage burning through her veins, forcing herself to stay calm, to stay professional, to not give Stanton the emotional reaction he was trying to provoke. The hearing continued for another 3 hours. More witnesses, more recordings, more legal maneuvering. By the time Chen called a recess to deliberate, Maya was exhausted. She found Morrison outside sitting on a bench, staring at nothing. How bad? He asked quietly. I don't know. Could go either way. If they side with Cross, then we appeal, and we keep fighting until we win. Morrison looked at her with hollow eyes. You really believe that justice actually happens? Maya sat down next to him. I believe that good people don't quit. I believe that doing the right thing matters even when it's hard. And I believe that my father didn't raise me to walk away from fights that need fighting. Your father sounds like he was an amazing man. He was. He was also deeply flawed. Struggled with PTSD. Drank too much. Missed my childhood because he was always deployed. Maya's voice was soft. But he showed up. Every time it mattered, he showed up. And that's what I'm trying to do. Show up. For you. For everyone who can't fight these battles alone. Morrison wiped his eyes. Thank you, Master Chief. Whatever happens, thank you for caring. At 1700 hours, the panel reconvened. Chen's expression was unreadable as she reviewed her notes. Finally, she spoke. This panel has carefully considered all evidence presented. We find that Master Chief Cross's investigation was conducted professionally and within the bounds of her assigned mission. We further find that the evidence supports the allegations of harassment against Sergeant Cross. However, Chen paused. We also find that the severity of the harassment does not rise to the level of criminal misconduct. Therefore, we recommend non-judicial punishment and mandatory counseling for Sergeant Cross, but not court-martial. Maya's heart sank. Not enough. It wasn't enough. Stanton smiled, already declaring victory. Cross looked relieved. Morrison looked devastated. Chen wasn't finished. That said, I am recommending to Colonel Rains that Sergeant Cross be removed from all leadership positions and transferred to a non-supervisory role. His pattern of behavior, while not criminal, is incompatible with positions of authority. Additionally, I am recommending a base-wide review of equal opportunity training and implementation of new harassment reporting protocols. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. After the hearing, Maya found Sergeant Major Hayes waiting for her outside. "Walk with me, Master Chief." They walked in silence for a while. Finally, Hayes said, "You did good work in there. Made your case. Stood your ground." It wasn't enough. Cross keeps his career. Morrison still has to live with the trauma. True. But you changed something important. You showed everyone on this base that speaking up matters. That there are consequences for behavior that destroys unit cohesion. That's worth something. Maya shook her head. "I wanted justice. I got a slap on the wrist." That's because the system protects itself. Always has. Always will. But you put a crack in that protection, and cracks spread. Given time, cracks become breaks, and breaks become change. Hayes stopped walking. "Your mission isn't complete, Maya. It's just beginning. This hearing was one battle. The war continues. I'm tired of fighting Gunny. I'm 23 years old, and I feel like I'm 60. I know. Your father felt the same way at your age. Wondered if any of it mattered, if the sacrifices were worth it. You know what kept him going?" "What?" "The knowledge that warriors don't fight because they believe they'll win. They fight because someone has to, because the alternative silence, acceptance, surrender is worse than the pain of standing up." Hayes put his hand on her shoulder. "You're your father's daughter, and that means you'll keep fighting even when you're tired, even when you're hurt, even when it seems pointless, because that's who you are." That evening, Maya was packing up her evidence files when Captain Stone knocked on her door. "Master Chief, got a minute?" "Yes, sir." Stone entered, closed the door. "Hell of a hearing today." "Yes, sir." "For what it's worth, I think Chen's decision was bullshit. Cross should have faced court-martial, but the system doesn't like prosecuting senior NCOs, sets bad precedents, makes people nervous." "I'm aware, sir." "I also wanted to tell you that you've changed this unit. Not everyone sees it yet, but I do. The way people are talking, the way they're questioning things they used to accept. Morrison isn't the only one who's suffering here. There are others. And now they know they can speak up, that someone will listen. That's because of you." Maya's throat tightened. "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. Keep making us uncomfortable. Because comfort is where standards die." Stone, headed for the door, paused. "Your father would be proud. Not because you won, but because you showed up when it mattered. That's what warriors do." After he left, Maya sat alone in her quarters and finally let herself cry. Not from sadness, from exhaustion, from relief, from the knowledge that the fight wasn't over, but at least she wasn't fighting alone anymore. Her phone buzzed. Text from Morrison. "Thank you for believing me. You saved my life. I won't forget it." Maya typed back. "You saved yourself. I just gave you the space to do it." Another text. This one from Vance. "Cross is spreading rumors. Says he's going to appeal. Says he's going to destroy you. Watch your back, Master Chief." Maya stared at the message, feeling the familiar weight of threat settle into her bones. Cross wasn't done. The battle was far from over, and the next phase was going to be even harder than the first. But she'd faced worse. Survived worse. And she'd keep surviving, because that's what her father had taught her. Warriors don't quit. They adapt. They endure. They find new ways to fight when the old ways stop working. She pulled out her laptop and started typing her next report. Documentation of the hearing. Analysis of the systemic problems that allowed men like Cross to thrive. Recommendations for change that went beyond individual punishment to address cultural rot. The work continued. The mission continued. And Maya Cross continued one day at a time, one fight at a time, honoring her father's legacy by refusing to give up even when giving up would be easier. Because some battles were worth fighting, some lines were worth defending, and some people were worth protecting even when protection came at tremendous personal cost. That was what it meant to be a warrior, not the fighting. The refusing to stop fighting, the standing up again every time you got knocked down. The believing that eventually if you just kept pushing, kept showing up, kept refusing to accept the unacceptable, things would change. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And Maya Cross was willing to wait as long as it took. The report went live at 0200 hours, uploaded through encrypted channels to SOCOM headquarters, the Inspector General's office, and 3 senators on the Armed Services Committee. Maya hit send and then sat staring at the screen, knowing she'd just detonated a bomb that would reshape her entire career. By 0600, her phone was ringing. Colonel Rains. Master Chief, what the hell did you just do? My job, sir. I documented systemic cultural failures and recommended institutional reform. You recommended disbanding the entire Joint Task Force program. You called for mandatory sensitivity training across all special operations units. You essentially accused the entire SOCOM command structure of enabling harassment. Rains's voice was a mix of anger and awe. You just declared war on the most powerful military organization in the country. They need to hear it, sir. Hearing it and accepting it are 2 different things. I've got 3-star generals calling me demanding your head on a platter. They want you court-martialed for insubordination. They want your security clearance revoked. They want you gone. Maya's heart rate climbed. And what do you want, sir? A long pause. Then Rains said quietly, I want you to keep fighting, because you're right. Everything you wrote is true. But Maya, you need to understand truth doesn't always win. Sometimes truth just gets you killed professionally. I'm willing to take that risk. I know you are. That's what worries me. The backlash came fast and furious. By noon, Maya was summoned to Stone's office. He sat behind his desk looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. They're pulling you out, effective immediately. You're being reassigned to a desk job at the Pentagon while they conduct a full review of your conduct and your report. Stone's hands were clenched into fists. Maya, I tried to stop this. Rains tried. Even Sergeant Major Hayes made calls, but the machine is bigger than all of us. They're going to bury you to protect themselves. Let them try. This isn't a game. They will destroy your career. Everything you've worked for. Everything your father built. Gone. Maya stood. My father taught me that some things matter more than careers. Justice matters. Truth matters. Standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves matters. She met Stone's eyes. If they want to destroy me for doing the right thing, then I'll wear that destruction like a badge of honor. You sound just like him. Stubborn, idealistic, willing to throw yourself on a grenade if it means protecting your people. Stone's voice cracked slightly. He died doing that, you know. Your father. Threw himself on an actual grenade in Syria. Saved 4 Marines. Killed him instantly. Maya's legs went weak. I was told he died in combat. They never gave me details. Because the details were classified. Because acknowledging what he did would have required acknowledging the operation existed. Stone pulled out a file, slid it across the desk. I wasn't supposed to show you this. But you deserve to know who your father really was. Maya opened the file with shaking hands. Photos. After-action reports, witness statements from the Marines her father had saved. Their words painted a picture of a man who'd seen the grenade land, had maybe 2 seconds to make a choice, and chose to die so others could live. He was the best of us, Stone said quietly. And so are you. But the system doesn't reward the best. It rewards the compliant. And you've just proven you're anything but compliant. Maya closed the file, wiped her eyes. When do I leave? Tomorrow morning, 0800 hours. A car will take you to the airfield. I want to say goodbye to Morrison, to Vance, to the people who trusted me. You have 12 hours. Make them count. So, Maya found Morrison in the equipment cage inventorying gear with the kind of focused intensity that suggested he was trying very hard not to think about anything else. When he saw her, his face went pale. Master Chief, is it true they're pulling you out? Yes. Because of me. Because of the report. Because of corruption protecting itself, not because of you. Maya stepped closer. Morrison, listen to me. What happens to my career doesn't matter. What matters is that you're still here, still fighting, still refusing to let them break you. But they are breaking me every day. Cross is still here, still spreading rumors, still making my life hell, and now you're leaving and I'm alone again. You're not alone. Vance has your back. Webb is coming around. Even Stone is starting to understand what's been happening here. Maya put her hand on his shoulder. And more importantly, you have yourself. You testified. You told the truth. You stood up when standing up was the hardest thing in the world. That's not weakness, Morrison. That's courage. The realest kind. Morrison's eyes filled with tears. I don't feel courageous. I feel terrified. Good. Fear means you're still human. It's what you do with that fear that defines you. Maya squeezed his shoulder. Keep showing up. Keep doing your job. Keep being the soldier I know you are. And when this is all over, when the dust settles, you'll look back and realize you survived something that would have destroyed most people. What if I don't survive it? Then you call me, day or night. I don't care if I'm at the Pentagon or on the moon. You call me and I will talk you through it. You are not dying on my watch, specialist. That's an order. Morrison hugged her suddenly desperately, the embrace of someone drowning and finding a life raft. Maya held him, let him cry, and wondered how many other soldiers on this base were suffering in silence, because asking for help was seen as weakness. Too many. Far too many. She found Vance next in the gym, working through his frustration on a heavy bag. He saw her approach and stopped mid-punch. So the rumors are true. They're extracting you. Yes. Because you told the truth. Because the truth threatened people in power. There's a difference. Vance grabbed a towel, wiped his face. This is bullshit, Master Chief. You came here to help. You did help. And now they're punishing you for it. That's how the system works sometimes. But Vance, I need you to keep doing what you've been doing. Keep standing up for Morrison. Keep questioning the toxic culture. Keep being the kind of leader that actually deserves to lead. I'm not a leader. I'm just a corporal. Leadership isn't about rank. It's about choice. You chose to speak up when staying silent would have been easier. That makes you more of a leader than half the officers on this base. Maya extended her hand. Thank you for having the courage to do the right thing. It mattered. Vance shook her hand, his grip firm. What are you going to do at the Pentagon? Keep fighting, just from a different battlefield. You think you can actually change things from inside that bureaucratic nightmare? I have to try. Because if I don't, who will? That evening, Maya was packing her gear when Sergeant Major Hayes appeared in her doorway. Mind if I come in? Of course, Gunny. Hayes entered, closed the door, and stood there looking at her with an expression that was equal parts pride and sorrow. Your father would be proud of what you did here, angry that it cost you your assignment, but proud of the stand you took. Did you know how he died the grenade? Yes, I was there. Different building, but close enough to see what happened. Hayes's voice was rough with memory. We were taking heavy fire, pinned down. Robert was covering our extraction when the grenade landed in the middle of his fire team. He didn't hesitate, didn't think, just moved. Covered it with his body, saved 4 Marines and 2 sailors. Died instantly. Maya's throat closed up. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because the operation was classified. Because acknowledging his heroism would have required acknowledging the mission. So they gave you a flag and a medal and a sanitized story, and they classified the truth for 25 years. Hayes pulled an envelope from his pocket. But I kept something. From that day. something I was supposed to destroy, but couldn't. He handed her the envelope. Inside was a photo, her father smiling, surrounded by his team. Young faces, strong faces, warriors who believed they were invincible. On the back, her father had written, "For Maya. If something happens to me, remember this. I died doing what I loved, protecting people who needed protecting. That's all any warrior can ask for. Make me proud. Love, Dad." Maya's hands shook as she read the words. When did he write this? The night before the operation. He had a feeling. Some of the old-timers get that way. They sense when their number's up. Hayes's voice was soft. He wanted you to know that his death wasn't meaningless, that he chose it, that protecting others was always his mission even when it cost him everything. I'm not sure I can live up to that. You already have. Every day you've been here, you've been protecting people who needed protecting. Morrison, Vance, every soldier on this base who was suffering in silence. You've given them something your father gave his teammates, hope that someone gives a damn. Hayes straightened. Tomorrow you leave for the Pentagon. Different battlefield, same war. Keep fighting, Maya, because this world needs warriors who care more about justice than career advancement. What if I can't win? What if the system is too big, too broken? Then you make it harder for them to stay broken. You shine light into dark corners. You document the truth. You refuse to let them forget that their decisions have consequences. Hayes moved toward the door. Your father fought his war. Now you fight yours. Different tactics, same objective. Get everyone home. He left before Maya could respond. That night she lay in her bunk, unable to sleep, reading and rereading her father's note. The handwriting was so familiar. Strong, decisive strokes that looked like they'd been written by someone who didn't second-guess himself. Someone who knew exactly who he was and what he stood for. She wanted to be that person, wanted to have that clarity. But right now, all she felt was lost. At 0600 hours, Maya did her final equipment check. Everything packed, everything accounted for. She took one last look around her quarters, memorizing the space where she'd spent the hardest 6 weeks of her life. A knock on the door. She opened it to find Captain Stone Sergeant Major Hayes Morrison Vance Webb and a dozen other soldiers she'd worked with. They stood at attention, expressions serious. Stone spoke first. Master Chief Cross, on behalf of Joint Task Force Bravo, we want to present you with this. He handed her a shadow box containing the unit coin, a photograph of her father, and a plaque that read, Master Chief Maya Cross, warrior, leader, truth teller. She showed us what courage really looks like. Maya's eyes burned. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just take it. Remember us. Remember that what you did here mattered. Stone's voice was thick with emotion. You changed this unit, Master Chief. Changed it for the better. And we won't forget that. Morrison stepped forward next. Master Chief, I'm not going to stand here and pretend I'm okay. I'm not. But I'm alive. And that's because of you. You showed me that asking for help isn't weakness. That speaking truth isn't betrayal, that surviving is its own form of victory. He extended his hand. Thank you for saving my life. Maya shook his hand, then pulled him into a hug. You saved yourself, Morrison. Don't ever forget that. One by one, the soldiers came forward, shook her hand, shared quiet words of gratitude and respect. Even Webb, who'd been so hostile at the beginning, said, You proved me wrong, Master Chief. About women, about strength, about what real leadership looks like. I won't forget the lesson. At 800 hours, the car arrived. Maya loaded her gear, took one last look at the base, and climbed in. As they drove away, she watched Joint Task Force Bravo disappear in the rearview mirror and wondered if she'd ever see it again. The Pentagon was exactly what she expected, massive, bureaucratic, suffocating. She was assigned to a windowless office in the basement, given a stack of administrative paperwork, and told to wait for her review board hearing. The message was clear. Shut up, stay quiet, and maybe we'll let you keep your career. But Maya didn't shut up. She spent her days writing, documenting, building an even more comprehensive report on the cultural failures within special operations. She contacted journalists, congressional staffers, anyone who would listen. And slowly, very slowly, people started listening. 3 months after leaving Joint Task Force Bravo, Maya was called to testify before a closed-door congressional hearing. She sat at a table facing 5 senators and told them everything. The harassment, the cover-ups, the systemic failures that allowed toxic leaders to thrive while good soldiers suffered in silence. Senator Patricia Williams, a former Marine and the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, listened intently. When Maya finished, Williams said, "Master Chief Cross, what you're describing is a cultural crisis, one that goes far beyond a single base or a single incident. Are you prepared for the firestorm that will come if we act on your recommendations?" "Senator, I've already been through the firestorm. I'm still standing, and I'll keep standing as long as it takes to fix what's broken." Williams nodded slowly. "Then we'll stand with you. This committee is going to launch a full investigation into special operations culture. We're going to hold hearings. We're going to demand accountability. And Master Chief, we're going to need you to testify. Publicly. On the record. Are you willing to do that?" Maya thought of her father, of Morrison, of every soldier who'd ever been told to stay quiet and accept the unacceptable. "Yes, Senator, I'm willing." The public hearing started 6 months later. Maya testified for 8 hours, detailing everything she'd witnessed and documented. The testimony was devastating. Within a week, 3 general officers had retired. Within a month, SOCOM had implemented sweeping policy changes. Within 6 months, every special operations unit in the military was undergoing mandatory culture reviews. It wasn't perfect. Change never is. But it was real, measurable, meaningful. And it cost Maya everything. Her security clearance was revoked. Her career prospects evaporated. She was politely but firmly encouraged to retire at 24 years old, the youngest Master Chief ever to leave the service. She accepted. Not because she was defeated, but because she'd accomplished her mission. The one her father had started and she'd finished. Get everyone home. Not just from combat, from darkness, from systems designed to break them. On her last day in uniform, Maya stood in her father's gravesite at Arlington National Cemetery. She placed her Master Chief anchor on his headstone, along with the shadow box from Joint Task Force Bravo. "I finished it, Dad. Your mission, our mission. I got them home. Not all of them. Not perfectly, but more than would have made it without someone standing up." She touched the cold marble. "I hope you're proud. I hope you understand why I had to walk away from the uniform. Because some fights can't be won from inside the system. Some fights require you to burn your own career to light the way for others." She stood there for a long time, feeling the weight of her father's legacy finally shift from burden to gift. He'd shown her what it meant to be a warrior. Not through violence or dominance, but through service, through sacrifice, through the willingness to pay any price to protect people who needed protecting. That was the legacy she'd carry forward. Not the uniform, not the rank, but the commitment to stand up when standing up cost everything. To speak truth when silence would be safer. To believe that one person could make a difference, even when that difference came at tremendous personal cost. Maya Cross walked away from Arlington that day, not as a Master Chief, not as her father's daughter, but as herself. A warrior who'd fought the hardest battle of her life and won something more important than victory. She'd won the knowledge that she'd mattered, that her choices had changed lives, that somewhere soldiers were safer because she'd refused to stay silent. And that was worth every sacrifice, every loss, every moment of pain. Because at the end of the day, warriors don't fight for glory or recognition or career advancement. They fight for each other, for the person standing next to them, for the belief that protecting others is the highest calling any human can answer. Maya Cross had answered that calling, had paid its price. And she'd do it again without hesitation because that's what her father had taught her. That's what real warriors do. They show up. They stand up. They refuse to quit when quitting would be easier. And when the dust settles and the battles end, they can look themselves in the mirror and know they did everything possible to get everyone home. Mission complete. Legacy secured. The fight continues, but the warrior can finally rest.